You're watching MMA Oddsbreaker. I'm Frank Trigg. That is Daron Cruickshank. Getting ready to fight Mike Rio coming up on UFC on Fox 10, January 25th. It's a Sunday, and you just came back from a gun show. Is that correct?
Yeah. Gibraltar Trade Center in Mount Clemens, little gun show. Checking out what I want to buy after I knock out Mike Rio.
You didn't buy anything this time. You just put a layaway plan for
Yeah,
the bonus.
just window shopping. Little inspiration.
That actually, this last Thursday, I did a radio show with some guys from a pawn shop up in Detroit. And
Hardcore pawn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And of the hour that they were on the radio show, we spent probably 35 minutes talking about you coming into the pawn shop.
Yeah, I actually went in there a while ago and tried out to be a security guard, but I was too small.
That I don't understand that. Like you coming in and being too small to be a security guard for those guys. I mean, really, what's going to happen in that place? You actually need a big security guard for one, and two, what big security guard could do more than what you do?
Right. They just want. I think they want the intimidation factor. I'm just a little guy, but I'll bite your ankles. I guess I don't know.
Yeah, as I say, you're not very intimidating. You're too nice a guy to be that intimidating.
Right.
You don't have a mean scowl. You don't look like you're gonna smash somebody in the forehead, but you could definitely
I
take care of it.
got the ears. You got to look out for those.
Now, before we got started the interview, you said you went to the gun show, and then after this, you need to go train. Do you normally train on Sundays?
Yeah, every Sunday at 4:30 we have open mat at my gym, and I'm gonna do some circuit training and try to blow my wind out on Sunday.
Is it a 7-day a week training session for you, and Sunday's just like a lighter day, just like the one time on Sunday, or do you have a day off someplace in there?
Yeah, I take Saturday off. I basically do two or 3 days all week, and then Saturday off, and then Sunday morning off.
No, why Saturdays? Because a lot of fighters, one, they always want to train at night because that's when the fight is. So the main practice is at night, like at 5 o'clock or 7 o'clock.
Yep.
Then two, they always train on Saturdays, and they always train on Saturdays the hardest because that's the actual fight day. But you elect to take Saturday off. Why is that?
I don't necessarily, think it's because I fight on Saturday, but I go to a lot of amateur shows, so I'm always working and reffing. So and Saturday it's just no one wants to train in Michigan. Everybody wants to take the weekend off, so it's not such a big deal. It'd probably be hard to find guys to train with.
Now, you said you go to a lot of amateur shows. It seems like to me, and now mind you, I'm not from Michigan, so I don't get up there very often. I will be in Detroit March 29th doing at an expo up there. But it seems like to me that MMA really hasn't exploded in Michigan like it has in other parts of the country. Is there a particular reason? Because there are so many great wrestlers that come out of Michigan. Obviously, we have a ton in the UFC right now. A bunch of great fighters. We have a ton in the UFC right now that come out of Michigan. But Michigan itself just hasn't seemed to have that state explosion like you see with a lot of different states. What's the particular reason behind that?
I actually feel like there's amateur shows every single weekend. Everybody and their brother fights in Michigan. I feel like it hasn't hit mainstream around the world because we don't have a sanctioning body in Michigan for our amateur shows. So it's the Wild West. There's no rules. I mean, there's no medical checks. There's nothing here for the amateurs, and all the promotions are making a ton of money because they don't have to pay for any of that stuff. So my amateur fights were basically pro fights. I could throw knees, elbows, ankle locks, all kinds of stuff. And the only difference between my amateur fights and professional fights are there 3-minute rounds instead of 3 5-minute rounds. It's actually pretty crazy to go to a show and there's no blood work or anything done for these guys. It's crazy.
Now, when you say you ref, are you reffing? There's no commission, so you're not getting paid by the commission to ref these amateur shows. Are you? Who's paying you? Is the promoter paying you to come in and ref?
Yeah, I basically the promoter pays me to ref these fights. I probably referee for maybe 5 different promotions, and I feel like I've actually saved some lives, for real, stopping fights and and the thing is these guys aren't getting medical checks and stuff, and some of these guys probably shouldn't be fighting, like, or a little over the hill, or just problems in general. I ended up stopping it maybe before the fight should have been stopped, but because of the guys, history, I try to, take their health into consideration.
Well, let's be honest. That's the job of the ref anyway. Is to save guys' lives, and so you should be doing that, and that's what most refs should be doing. And we all know that reffing in MMA, it sucks. The only thing that's worse than the reffing in MMA is the judging. I mean, it's just garbage right now. Do you have a better appreciation and do you have a better understanding of what the refs do because you ref so much? And when you start to complain about a ref, does it seem like the refs kind of pay attention to you a little bit more when you're starting to say something because you actually do ref?
I actually feel like there should be a little more prerequisites to referee matches. I feel like you should have fought before, for sure. Especially not just did martial arts. You did some taekwondo or something, and then you think you can be a ref. I feel like you should have had MMA fights to be a referee. You can study it as much as you want. You can say, you can watch Herb Dean referee so many matches, and then you take his class, and boom, you're a referee. It's not the same. As a fighter, you get to see what's going on. You know what's going to happen before it happens. You can see what guys are going after and how people react, and I feel like that should be a priority.
I've spoken to a lot of guys, and I'm still trying to find the paper to find how many NFL refs never played football, how many MLB refs never played baseball, how many NBA refs never played basketball ever. And even at the young amateur level, at least they had some time doing the actual sport that they're reffing now. The rules might be a little bit different between when I played in high school and when I'm doing in the major leagues, but I played the game. Like, I understand the game from an internal aspect. And then we're hard-pressed to find refs that have ever done MMA and on any level at all, and they're reffing these fights. There's very few John McCarthy's who legitimately was doing the sport when it first broke out and helped set the rules, and all of a sudden now he's a ref. There's very few Daron Cruickshanks that are actually in the sport currently underneath this huge explosion from the media standpoint and watching it grow and watching the popularity and getting these 45-year-old guys that think they can fight amateur. These guys are 18, 19 years old that have never done anything but smoke pot sitting on their couch. All of a sudden think, I did a week worth of training. I'm a fighter now. And you're legitimately in there trying to save their lives. We have, there's you, John McCarthy, and maybe a handful of other guys that have actually done the sport that are reffing. The rest of the refs have no clue what's going on at all.
Exactly.
And I agree with you, Daron. It's a danger to fighters. It's a danger to promoters. And it's really a danger to the fans as a whole because you're going to get a new fan to come in and watch, and all of a sudden something bad happens. That fan is now turned off the sport forever, and that one fan tells his or her 10 friends, and those 10 people are never going to come. We're going to attend 10 more. All of a sudden you have 5,000 people in your local community that aren't going to come because of one bad refereeing decision.
Exactly.
Do you think that your mindset of, hey, you should have fought or at least have done some amateur fights yourself to be a ref, do you think that will help the judging as well? Or is it judging a totally different situation?
I feel exactly the same way about the judging. How can you judge a match if you've never done it? If you don't know what's going on? If you take the blind eye, somebody that's never done it, and you watch a fight, and you see one guy pushing forward the whole time, and the other guy going backwards, but the guy going backwards is landing more shots and actually being more technical. To the blind eye, oh, well, that guy's going forward. He must be winning. That's not how it is every single time. So, and I don't know the qualifications for judges in every state and why do people get those jobs. It's a difficult decision.
All right, let's talk about Mike Rio real quick. He's your next opponent. You're going to obviously have a different ref in there watching this fight, and the judging, it's questionable. You don't know what's going to happen. And we just lost Keith Kaiser is resigning here in Nevada. He's walking away as being the executive director of the commission, which opens up a whole new realm of different refs now can come back into the state to ref MMA as well as ref boxing. How do you feel about the Chicago and the Illinois, ref commission as a whole, and who do you think the refs are going to be? Is it going to be the normal refs we see all the time, or sometimes some states have that one little ref that does the undercard that we haven't seen before, that will be floating around in the background? He obviously won't be on your fight because you're a seasoned veteran, but some of these younger guys can get a ref that they haven't seen before or had any dealings with.
Yeah, I don't try to really think about the parts that I can't control. The judging, the reffing, stuff like that. Those are just things you have to go with. I mean, you can't change it, so it's not I don't really even think about it. I just go in there and think about Mike Rio's face on my knee. So
Well, what kind of fighter is Mike Rio? Let's talk about him. What do you think he's
Mike Rio is a one-gun type of guy. He only has a takedown. He's got a great takedown. I wouldn't necessarily think he's that great on top, and he's a fish out of water on his feet. So he's going to be looking to obviously put me on my back. That's the only thing he's going to do. He can't do anything else. And nowadays in the UFC, you can't just be that one type of guy. You can't just have one weapon. You got to have it all. And I would say that he's not necessarily UFC quality.
Well, if you look at some champs' histories, Ronda Rousey specifically, she's got basically one move. She has an armbar, and she gets you to the ground, she throws you to the ground, and takes you down. But she's very successful being a one-trick pony because she's so far better than all the rest of her competition. She's able to pull it off. Mike Rio's one-trick pony isn't a finish; it's just a takedown and kind of hold. If he had a finish from that position, do you think he'd be a better one-trick pony, or do you think he'd still be the same kind of one-trick pony that isn't UFC caliber?
I feel like Ronda Rousey is definitely on a different level. She has more than just one armbar. I mean, she can throw, she can strike, she can do it all. She just stops the fights every time with an armbar. That's a whole different thing. I don't think she would be where she's at if she just took people down and rode them out. This isn't a wrestling match. I wrestled 4 years of college. I took second in the nation my sophomore year at 165 pounds. That's the thing is he's not going up against a guy that doesn't know how to wrestle. It's going to be a lot of trouble with him for him.
An exhausting trouble because every time he takes that shot, hoping to get you down, he's going to spend a lot of energy chasing you around, trying to get a hold of the leg, trying to grab you as you're sprawling out and peppering him in the kidneys. So he finally lets go and you knee him in the face. So it is difficult if all you have the ability to do is try to wrestle a guy that can wrestle even on a minute level, which isn't the case with you. You know how to wrestle on a higher level than most guys do at your weight class. It's very difficult to take a guy down like you and then have the energy left to do it again over and over again if you can't punch him in the face first.
Right. I mean, I didn't wrestle D1. I wrestled Division III. I wrestled junior college, but he wasn't a D1 wrestler either. He's not some Olympic quality wrestler. He was an NAI national champ. I feel like it's when you got two decent wrestlers together, it's gonna be who's better at everything else. And I've got knockouts under my belt. I've got, I feel like I have way more weapons than him.
Yeah, you really do. You have 7 knockouts and 1 submission and 5 decisions. So it goes in deep water. You got the energy. And your 1 submission you got from hitting a guy up so much, he basically just said, please submit me out of this joint.
Exactly. He gave me his back.
he's like, I've had enough. And then your 7 knockouts are legit knockouts. So not just walk in, I say Johnny Hendricks style knockouts, but I don't want to disrespect Johnny. Johnny's got an amazing power on the left hand. But you don't just walk in and throw a haymaker and crack a guy in the face and he falls down. You have to use foot motion, foot speed, and hand speed to find the right place to put a guy down. So it's a very technical kind of knockout that a lot of fighters aren't used to, especially when you're talking about the lightweight division. Last question before I lay you out of here. You alluded to that you're going to, with your bonus money, you're going to go buy a gun. Are you more of a home invasion, a kind of worrying about the zombie apocalypse guy, or are you going to go buy rifles to go hunt deer and chase down mountain lions?
I actually got into 3-gun matches this summer where it's rifle, shotgun, pistol, and it's like tactical, and you're running and gunning. It's a blast. So I've been basically just getting different setups for that. But I'm definitely ready for the apocalypse. I mean,
well,
I got some cool stuff.
Depending on where the apocalypse is and what plane I'm on when I'm flying over, if I end up in Michigan, I'm coming right to your house. Just
yes.
Don't shoot first. Just make sure you have a clear line of sight to realize it's who you're shooting at before you start taking pot shots at me.
Okay. Sounds good. If you ever do come in Michigan, I'll take you out shooting. We'll do some cool stuff.
I'm coming up March 29th. I'm actually coming up March 29th. I gotta go stop by the pawn shop. I'll be there the 20th. I land the afternoon the 27th. I gotta stop by the pawn shop that night. And the 28th I'm free. And then the 29th I teach a little bit at the Deluxe Expo.
Okay. Yeah. Sounds great. Let's do something. I'll get my professional shooter buddies together. We'll do some shooting.
I'd love to. I love going shooting. Living in Las Vegas is still the Wild West, so we're allowed to shoot a lot of different places people can't put together. Oh, I love it. You have a carry? Do you carry?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Okay. See,
this is one of STI 2011. I have the RMR red dot. Boom. Extended bag.
Check you out. You're not playing around. Now, do you carry all the time?
What?
Do you carry all the time?
For the most part, I mean, you can't carry in bars and banks and stuff like that. But other than that, I'm strapped.
Say you're coming out of practice. It's just a regular training session. You're getting ready to, whatever. You walk out. You have your weapon with you. But now all of a sudden your buddies are like, hey, let's go stop by the bar and get a quick drink before you head home. Do you have a lockbox inside your car that you keep your weapon in, or do you have to go all the way home, put your weapon in the safe, and then go back out again?
Yeah, you can actually. I can lock it up in my car. But as far as bars in Michigan, you can actually open carry.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I'm not a big bar person, but legally I can open carry in a bar, and then if the owner or the business didn't like that, then they could tell me to take to go put it away.
It's weird how every state has their own little law. When I was living in Phoenix, you're allowed to open carry as well. You have it as long as the gun was registered.
Yeah,
a lot of motorcycle riders would have an open carry. They just keep it on their hip and just ride around. It was completely fine. And same thing, you go into a bar, and if the bartender was like, we don't want you to have it, then you took it off and went back outside and locked it up. If you had a lockbox, if not, you had to leave. I mean, it's just how it is.
Yeah.
And it's actually almost a better way to do it, I would think, which brings me to the question. I know I said last question a little bit ago, but now how come Detroit hasn't quite gotten itself together, even though carrying a weapon is a lot easier than, say, New York State, where you can't carry at all.
Right.
It's in Michigan you're allowed to carry, but Detroit still seems to have a lot of gun-related issues, where most other cities that have an open carry law for the bars, what have you, or a concealed weapons, easy way to get a concealed weapons permit, that they have very little violent crime with weapons, either on either side, either getting violent crime or
right. I feel like as far as crime in Detroit, we just have our economy's not that great, and anytime the economy drops, there's always going to be more crime. But I live maybe 15 minutes outside of Detroit, and I'm not afraid to go anywhere. Like, I just carry it because it's my right, and a street fight, I fight professionally. I would never fight somebody in the street. Like, in the street, it's a life or death. I would do what I had to do. I'm not going to play around,
Yeah, it's a different mindset, and that's what people don't understand. That when you actually take the courses to get registered and understand what weapons are actually like, and understand what the sights are for, and the grips, and the extended mags, and all that, all of a sudden, the more you understand about a particular thing, the less you actually want to use it. And that's kind of what happens with weapons, is that the more you understand about guns, the less you ever want to pull them out.
Well, it's just like MMA in general. You don't get the true MMA fighter that trains and competes out at the bar picking fights.
Right.
Because we know that anything can happen at any time. Everybody can be knocked out. Anybody can be hurt. And in the street, there's always that second guy. It's his buddy that's going to crack you from behind. So it's as far as MMA fighters, I know the majority don't go looking for the fight. If it comes, then yes, we'll handle it. But anything can happen.
All right, Daron, thanks for spending a little bit extra time on here than we had planned.
Anytime.
I apologize, but I do. It's like talking to Randy Couture. Whenever I get him talking about weapons, I like to continue the process, because it's something that every fighter that is into weapons, their eyes light up when you start talking about them, because they actually it's a passion. It's not just some fly by night. Oh, I got some extra money, I'm gonna go buy a 9mm. they actually understand what's going on. So I like to have the public actually get a little bit more educated from different guys. So I apologize for the extra time, but I appreciate it.
Hey, no problem.
All right, Dan. Well, good luck against Mike Rio. We'll talk to you soon, man. I appreciate it.
Cool. Thanks, Greg.